This is the final result of a Move brand precision bumper that I built for my 2008 Chevy 2500 Duramax and then painted with Raptor Liner and installed a 30-inch Nilight bar and 2 sets of the Nilight pods. So I worked on this thing on and off for about 5 or 6 weekends, and then within 10 days of having it done, I managed to put it into a pilaster on the wall at my house. I don't know if you can see the scar that I made, but there it is. I'll do a better job touching it up lately, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and own the scar. So overall, I'm really happy with the look. I'm a little bit disappointed with the Raptor Liner. I wish it would have held up a little better. Not that I expect it to stay on when you hit a wall, but I did also have a little bit of it coming off when I bumped this corner just installing the bumper onto the truck. And I did let it sit for over a week after I put the liner on before I installed it on the truck. Part of that may be due to the fact that I used the acid etch primer instead of the 2-part epoxy. That may have been a contributing factor. So if all you really care about to see is the final product, this is it. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. But stay tuned if you want to see a few things that I recorded along the way, just that I did a little bit different and that I wanted to include just for the benefit of somebody who's starting one of these projects. It's stuff you probably won't see in other videos. I don't go into details on the build, just some unique things that I wanted to share along the way. So if you care, stay tuned. The things in order that I'm going to cover are the pre-welding gaps and misalignments that were there after I tacked it but before I did the final welding, and then what it looked like after the grinding to see what I was able to recover from as far as misalignments are concerned. Then I'm going to go into how I backfilled the holes that make the Move logo. I'm going to go into how I mounted the light pockets that come with the bumper and how I mounted the Nilight pods, and then how I mounted the Nilight, the big bar here, and then how and why I added these extra pieces here to finish off the look, and then how much Raptor Liner I used, and how well the Raptor Liner did in covering up some imperfections I wanted to see what I could get away with. So I'll go into that, how I wired the lights, and some small cuts that I had to make in these brackets on my truck to make it fit at the end. So stay tuned. Okay everybody, I'm putting together a Move brand bumper. It's the precision model, and wanted to just show you something I'm running into over here. I started by putting the one piece mounted up to the truck and using the truck as a jig just as they suggest, and building out from there. But one thing you're going to run into is when you try to fit these pieces, and it's a compromise between the gaps that you find on the lines in your truck and how the pieces fit together. So you also end up with some pretty big gaps that are going to have to be filled in when you take it off and you weld it on your table. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is fitting up, but some of these little edges come together nicely, and others you have a little bit more of a overlap than you'd like, at least than I would like. And the plan is to just really hit it with a grinder at the end and clean everything up. And I don't know how much is good enough as far as lining up. Definitely would have hoped it would have lined up a little bit better, but just want to kind of document this because I'm committed at this point. I'm going to weld it out and then grind it clean, and we'll see if these some of these lines I don't really like, I'm able to clean up at the end with a grinder. So this is just the before shot. We'll see how it looks after. Okay, now I'm about 90% through this build, and I just wanted to show these lines again. I've done a ton of grinding. I went pretty big on the welds and spent a lot of time smoothing them out, and what I guess I just want to show is that it actually came out pretty nice. There's some natural curves where there's a bend from the factory, and so you got to kind of match that with your grinds and kind of get the same roundness, and it's just a lot of work, but you might end up with lines that aren't quite as sharp as you would have liked. But as you can see, totally able to fill in all of those gaps, and even misalignments you really can't tell. So if you're really worried about the way they're coming out, just go big on your welds and grind the snot out of it. So that's what it's looking like right now. I'll show it again after it gets the bed liner on it. Alright everybody. The first thing I'll show you, I call the logo delete. A lot of people are put off by this giant logo that move puts on their bumpers and puts the hole right through. And honestly, it almost kept me from getting one of these kits because I didn't really like it either. But now that I'm building one and I see other move bumpers, I kind of like seeing the logo because I'm like, oh, I want to go see if this guy's as bad at making things as I am. So I'm kind of torn. But what I'm going to do, because this is going to end up with a Raptor Liner, bed liner at the end, is I'm going to take a piece and I'm going to cover it from the back. When this is here, you'll still see the indent through the bed liner. It'll still say move. It'll still be part of the move club, but not quite as obnoxious going down the road. So that's the first thing. Let me show you what that looks like from the ugly side. See, I told you this side was ugly. All right, so instead of just putting a plate up here, I took a piece of channel and I coped it, because as beefy as these bumpers look, what you end up seeing is that these wing sides over here really aren't supported by much. They kind of just cantilever off and they come together at these corners. So this piece, instead of just covering the logo, is going to come over here onto the edges and just tie in a little bit and add a little bit more structure, a little bit more stiffness because of this rib. So not just covering the logo, also just a little bit of structure there. So up next is these pockets for the pod lights on the side on the wings. So I got looking how these fit up, and I'm just thinking to myself, how in the gosh darn heck am I going to get the bed liner sprayed nicely in all these crevasses and hard to reach places? So got a lot of blessings in my life, but being smarter than me is not one of them. So show you what I did. I made them removable. So instead of trying to weld in all those hard to reach spots, I did some poor man weld studs here, cut up bolts and welded them on, and spent a bunch of time with a Dremel grinding the weld down so that they'd fit over the brackets. And just put a couple brackets here, so now I can take these pieces off and I can, lots of access in there to do the bed liner and do these separately and then bolt them all back up at the end. Probably a bad idea. When I look at it, probably could have gotten in okay and nobody sees this part, so I don't know if I recommend that, but that's what I ended up doing. All right, on to the light pods themselves. I'd like to live in a reality where I can spend $600 on LED lights, but I can't afford a new wife right now. So I think I did what most of you were going to do, and I went on Amazon and I bought Nilights. And so let China take a little hit of my dignity right there. But one thing about these Nilights is they don't have a lot of adjustability on their mounting scheme. And when I did a test fit, and I put them up against the little squiggly cutout that Move provides to mount your lights, you're kind of stuck at an angle that was a bad angle for me. They're really off to the side. They sort of match that angle of the wings. So what I did was I made brackets that bolt to the squiggly cutout, and then you can pivot the light on the bracket and go up and down. And so that should allow me to put these anywhere I want and kind of pointing any direction I want, not just pointing off to the side. Another thing I'll show you is this is an amber flood spot combo, and this is supposedly an amber flood. I wanted a set of each, and from the same company you can tell they are not at all the same color as each other. But again, I did let my dignity go and gave China the win, so I'll deal with that. So that's how I did the spotlight. Okay, we're back to the ugly side. Women and children, please look away. We'll talk about how we mount the 30-inch bar that I got also from Nilight, of course. Move gives you this piece. I think it's the cutout from here, and they suggest you can weld this in here as a stand to mount your light. But what I noticed is it's the same size as the hole, so the stands on my light are wider than it, so that wouldn't work. But these little pieces that have the slot in them that they send actually worked out perfect in my case. They're the perfect width to also tie into the structure here, add a little bit more structure, and as you can see, the light bar fits up pretty nice in there. So that's all I'm doing for my light bar. There's no need for this piece on mine, but if you want to, you could use it to delete your logo. So anyway, that's how I did my light bar. So before I decided how I wanted to mount my big light bar, I had an almost good idea that I thought I'd share with you guys in case you're thinking the same thing. I was going to put the plate that they provide on like this. I just have it with magnets now to show you. And then I bought these magnets from Amazon, and I thought I was going to do the trick where you just let the light bar always be on magnets, and then if I ever bought a really nice one, I could replace it and it would be easy to do. These magnets are super strong. These ones are about 1.5 inches in diameter, and they are just super strong. But when I actually put the light bar on it, and it's kind of heavy and it has that leverage, it can make them pop off a lot easier than I would have thought. As strong as they are, just almost a good idea in my case. If you can make it work, that's cool. But I decided to go the other route. Just thought I'd share that with you. All right, everybody, it's another day and another reason not to be done with this bumper yet. I was really hoping to be painting today, but there's something I've come across I just can't let go. So one thing about these precision bumpers on the website, most of them look very incomplete to me, and it's because you've got this little plate down here that just doesn't connect to anything. It's underneath the bumper, and then you just kind of have these exposed edges. There's one truck in particular that kept catching my eye. It was a red truck with a red color match bumper. I'll try to find a picture of it for you guys. And in my opinion, the best looking bumper on their website. And what I realized what they did was they put an extra piece in here and then also extended this a little bit, and it just made it look so much more polished and finished. So at the beginning I was going to do that. I've talked myself out of it 3 times, and now I can't live with myself if I don't do something similar. So the short of it is, though, I'm coming right to this edge here, and I'm not going to try to complete underneath here because it's going to get a little too close to my tire, and it's kind of a weird angle the way the two would have to come together. So I cut out a template, and I made a piece over here that's going to come in here and just kind of complete this edge. The corner will come up right up here to the edge, and we'll just complete this missing part. You won't be able to see underneath this part of the mounting, and it'll add a little bit more of the structure to it, and I think it's just going to look a lot cleaner. So another day's delay to make some more parts, but I think that's going to come out pretty nice. We'll show it to you in the end. Okay, so now I've got these extra trim pieces tack welded in, and I want to just show you something I learned while I was doing the main weld out on the bumper. And that's, if you look at the fitment of these, you're going to see that it's not great. I've got some gaps, I've got some edge overlap, and I was really worried at the main build, am I going to be able to fill that in with weld and grind it and still make it look nice? And I was able to on the rest of the bumper. I was really happy with the way it turned out. So I thought, since I've got another kind of poor fit up here, I'd just sort of show you what it looks like before, and then I'll kind of show you what it looks like with some big welds under it, and then we'll grind it out, and I'll just kind of show you how you're still able to kind of recover from this sort of sloppy fit. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm mostly done welding one of these trim pieces. This is the outside weld, and you can see it's really big. This is 3/16 inch thick, so that's a big plate. And this is big weld that we've got to cover up. So I left one piece undone so you can kind of see the overlap here. I'm basically just running over with this weld, and then I'll grind it. So you can kind of see, just did it multiple passes. I started on the inside and ran not quite as big, just to put a backing to all of these bigger welds from the outside. And you can see, I'm going to come over to the other side here. This one's been done on the inside already, so you can just see the heat marks there. Haven't run over it yet with the big outside welds, but again, just showing you guys what it looks like before a whole bunch of grinding happens to polish it off. Okay friends, here's the passenger side trim piece before the grind, just kind of showing you the big weld here on this side. A few starts and stops, trying to draw on a straight line, and of course keep it big because we gotta make those edges meet. So that's the before. All right everybody, here's that trim piece after grinding the big weld off. You can tell it's not completely perfect. I had to go a little deeper to make the blend than I might have wanted to, but as you can see, probably it came out pretty good. You're not going to see anything major. So yeah, here's the piece that we added here. Here's a cardboard template. So, you know, had to be done. If we hadn't done this, pretty much all this right here just hanging out in space. You just have that plate with connected to nothing, and then you've got this edge all the way down there. So I think it's going to help complete the look. So that's how it came out. You know, lots of grinding on those welds, but I guess time well spent. Okay, today we're going to put the bed liner on. I'm using the Raptor, just the black spray-on bed liner, and for a primer I'm just using the acid etch primer. I'm not doing their two-part epoxy. I'm just hoping that's going to work out okay. One thing I wanted to show, so on this table I've got those light pockets in my little brackets and my light, my flashlight. I left some little imperfections, some kind of holes here I didn't fill in because this won't be seen, and I wanted to see, will the Raptor Liner cover that up? I spent a lot of time grinding and polishing the main bumper to get rid of anything like that there, but I was just wondering, I wonder if I had to do that or if the liner's forgiving enough. So I just want to show you this, and then I'll show you it at the end, and we'll see if it actually covered up those little holes. It's not even a structural weld, it just fills in the gap where they had the cuts for the bends. So there's the bumper in the back, tons of time into grinding and polishing and sandpapering and degreasing. So super clean now and ready to go. So I'll show you after we're done. Okay, so the priming's done. It took pretty much 2 full cans of the acid etch primer, so I'm glad I bought an extra. If you kind of look, I've got the light shining over here. You can still see those pits after the priming, which is not really a surprise to me. I expected that. Also, on the main bumper over here, after the primer, you can really kind of still see some of the grind marks and blending marks that you couldn't really see when it was shiny. The primer kind of brings that out. I'm kind of having a hard time capturing it on the camera, so I'm not going to spend too much time trying to do that. I do think that it's going to come out. You're not really going to be able to see it with the primer on, the bed liner on. So anyway, I'm not going to try to capture it, but with my eyes in the light here I can see it, but we're just going to hope it goes away. Okay, the Raptor Liner has been applied. You can still see a little bit of the pits on that edge there that I was using as a sort of an experiment to see if I could cover them, but you'd almost have to know what you're looking for. You can see them there. Overall, the application went really well. I'm like everybody else online, you see they're kind of amazed at how even this stuff comes out, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. It did cover up all those little blemishes that I was talking about that I could see with the primer that I couldn't really see before the primer was on. Just so you know, I ended up using 2 of the 4 bottles that came in the kit. I thought I was going to get away with 1, and I almost did, but it worked out better just to go ahead and let it sit, knowing that the rest of the bottle wasn't just going bad while I waited for the second coat. And that just gave me a lot of options to be generous on the inside and get a nice coat and not worried. I knew I'd have a little bit extra, but it was better than not having enough. So I guess the next ones will probably see it on the truck with the lights on. See you later. Okay, let me show you what I did to wire up all the different lights. So I got one of these 6-gang switch panel, which comes with its own little relay box, which kind of see it over here. It's underneath down here. I made a little bracket that just goes over this bracket in my truck, and so I put some wing nuts and clipped it to its own mounting holes. Here's all the wiring harness stuff coming out of it, and so it has 6 different circuits on it, or 6 different relays. I just used 3 because I got the pods and then the big bar. So over here I just have, you can just see all the pigtails waiting. I cannibalized the harnesses that came with the Nilight pod lights. They came with their own relays and switch and wiring harness, so I was going to do different connections and make my own harnesses, but I like the way that those were put together, and they have a protective, you can't really see it here because it's in the loom, but over here you can maybe see that this got a pretty nice covering over the wires, so I wanted to keep that. So that's how it came out in the engine bay. A lot of zip ties and stuff holding everything together, keeping it clean hopefully. And then on the inside, the nice thing about that 6-gang is you end up with just one real clean switch panel here. They're not toggles. I kind of like the toggles better that the other ones come with, but these will just hit them and they turn on. And so it's got its own little mounting bracket, just screwed it into the dash here, and then the wire, one single wire goes through for all 6 circuits. So I thought I'd show you guys that. All right. One more thing to show you. I've test fit this bumper several times along the way, and when I went in for an almost final fit up, I realized that this corner, you can see my little horn bracket here, the corner of this piece of metal here, it's aluminum, was actually interfering when I had the light pocket backings on that hold the little cube lights. So I ended up having to just come in with the cutoff wheel or the yeah, the cutoff wheel and just take some meat out of there so that it would fit. And the same thing was true on the other side. The driver's side is a little bit worse, but again, over here I just had to make that clean cut there so that the bumper will go on after I put the light pockets in. So just thought I'd show you that. So that's all I got for you, but the one last thing I'll add is if you really want to be happy with the way your bumper turns out, the first thing you got to realize is it's your bumper and nobody else really cares. So don't take it too seriously. Have fun building it and be happy with what you end up with. So hope this helped anybody. If you really like this video, do me a favor and don't subscribe to my channel. I expect my content to be so random that probably won't do any good for you, but have a good one. Thanks for watching.